All right, let's talk about one of the biggest decisions you'll make as a gardener. Do you build those picture-perfect raised beds, or do you just plant straight into the ground? It seems like such a simple choice, right? But trust me, there is a lot to unpack here. So let's dig in. So, you've got the perfect spot picked out, the sun is shining, you are ready to grow something. But then, boom, you hit your first big question. Do you go all in and build those awesome-looking garden boxes you see all over Instagram, or do you just, stick with the old school way and plant right in the dirt? It's a classic dilemma, and honestly, it's the first big hurdle for so many of us. Okay, so before we can really get into the face-off, we gotta make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is a raised bed? Because it's not just about the box. All right, here's the textbook definition. It's an area of land that is raised above the rest of the area. Now, the important bit there is raised. You see, it says it's often contained in an enclosure, the wood or stone frame, but that box isn't actually what makes it a raised bed. And this right here is the key takeaway. It is all about the raised soil, not the box around it. You can't just slap a wooden frame on your lawn, toss it an inch of compost, and call it a day. No, the soil level itself has to be noticeably higher than the ground around it. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Okay, so now that we've got our definitions straight, let's get to the main event, the Great Garden Face-Off, raised beds versus in-ground. We're going to break down all the key differences from the dirt itself all the way to how your back feels at the end of the day. First up, let's talk about the foundation of any good garden, the soil and drainage. This is, without a doubt, the biggest reason people go for raised beds. Think about it. If your backyard soil is basically concrete, or it's super rocky, or just heavy clay, a raised bed is your escape hatch. You get total control. You can fill it with the perfect, fluffy, nutrient-rich soil that plants dream about. Now, if you go in-ground, you've got to work with what nature gave you, which, hey, could be awesome, or it could mean a heck of a lot of work to make it better. But, and this is a big but, all that perfect custom soil comes with a price tag. This is probably the biggest drawback to raised beds, the investment. We're talking cost and time. You've got to buy the lumber or stone for the frame, all the hardware, and then you have to buy mountains of soil to fill the thing. It's a huge upfront cost. Meanwhile, digging a garden in the ground, the soil's already there. It's pretty much free. And don't underestimate how fast those costs stack up. Let's just put some numbers to this. A single 4x4 foot bed, if you make it 2 feet deep, needs 32 cubic feet of soil to fill it. 32. If you're buying that soil in bags from the garden center, well, you're looking at a lot of bags. And at 5, 10, even 15 bucks a bag, yeah, it becomes a major, major factor in your decision, and fast. All right, let's shift gears to the day-to-day stuff, the actual maintenance. Raised beds, because they're up high and drain so well, are thirsty. They dry out way faster, so you're going to be watering more often. The flip side? Weeds are usually easier to handle, since they can't just creep in from the surrounding lawn. In-ground gardens, on the other hand, are much better at holding onto moisture, but yeah, they're basically an open buffet for every weed in a 10-foot radius. Now this is a big one. Let's talk about ergonomics. This is another massive selling point for raised beds. Your back and knees will thank you. Seriously, bringing the garden up to you means way less bending, way less kneeling. For a lot of folks, this one benefit alone is enough to make the whole investment worth it. It can literally be the difference between gardening being a painful chore and a joyful hobby. But it's not quite that simple. And here's why. Check out this quote. This is a super important perspective that we often overlook. What's a backsaver for one person can be a massive barrier for another. For a gardener who uses a wheelchair, for example, a high-walled bed can make it completely impossible to reach the plants in the middle. So for them, an in-ground garden, maybe with some long-handled tools, is actually way more accessible. Okay, on to our sworn enemies, pests and critters. Now, if gophers, moles, or voles are the bane of your existence, then you need to pay close attention. With a raised bed, you can line the bottom with something called hardware cloth before you add the soil. It basically creates an impenetrable fortress against anything trying to tunnel up from below. This can be an absolute, non-negotiable game changer depending on where you live. Your in-ground garden? Well, it's just an all-you-can-eat buffet from below. So, after weighing all the pros and cons, how do you actually choose? The verdict, as you'll see, is really all yours. There's no single right answer here. So to help you figure it out, just ask yourself these 5 questions and be really honest. First, what's your soil really like? Is it workable or a nightmare? Second, what's your actual budget? Not your dream budget, your real-world budget for both time and money. Third, think about your body. What are your physical needs or limitations? Fourth, what kind of vibe are you going for? Tidy and neat or more wild and natural? And finally, what are your biggest garden enemies? Is it gophers or is it that creeping grass from your lawn? Once you answer these, the right path for you is going to become a whole lot clearer.
All right, before we finish up, I want to leave you with one last thing to chew on. It's this idea of tradition versus trend.
You know, for pretty much all of human history, we grew our food in the ground, on the flat. These beautiful, neat wooden boxes are, well, they're a pretty new thing, right? You see them everywhere, pushed by gardening shows and glossy magazines. And it makes you wonder, are they always a necessary tool? Or have they become a kind of modern fashion item, a status symbol for your backyard? And that last question leads us right to this quote, which honestly is just heartbreaking to read. I'm desperate to start growing, but I can't afford the raised beds yet. The idea that you need to buy or build something expensive just to put a seed in the ground, that's become a huge and totally unnecessary barrier for people. So if you take away one thing today, let it be this. The best garden isn't in a box or in the ground. The best garden is the one you actually start. Thanks for joining me.